Hello, and we have some insane crypto news for you. First of all, the SEC and its glorious leader Gary Gensler has decided to thwack Ripple with a giant fine. Now, this is something that Ripple doesn't want, you don't want, and the crypto industry definitely does not want. They're asking for $1.95 billion. I don't exactly know how much they sold to institutions before, but that's a huge, huge fine and not an easy one for any company to pay. I don't think Ripple has $1.95 billion in liquidity. So as an XRP investor, you really don't want this because that means they have to dump a lot of XRP in order to make up the difference, and that might make price go down. As an industry, we don't want this because that sets a precedent for other crypto coins. And you might be seeing crypto coins drop left and right if they're faced with these kind of fees. And it would deter crypto businesses from starting in the United States. Now, generally, the SEC is not going to get all that it asks for. And usually you ask for these gigantic amounts so you can settle for a much less amount, maybe 10%. When the SEC did the whole thing with that social media platform, they asked for tens of millions of dollars. They ended up getting a couple $100,000, not even enough to cover their legal bills, which is exactly what I'm kind of expecting to happen here. And Ripple is obviously going to deny this and fight them for it, and this will drag out in court for probably many months. So the SEC wants a judgment of $1.95 billion in final judgment against Ripple. They will respond, and they asked the New York judge to. Now, I don't think the judge, after hearing the arguments, will actually award the SEC that much. I also don't really know why it's in New York because Ripple is in California, and this makes no sense. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission asked the New York judge to impose a nearly $2 billion fine against Ripple Labs, according to court filings. On Monday, Stuart Alderley, Ripple Labs' chief legal officer, posted on social media that the SEC was asking for such a fine and that redacted versions of the court documents would be made public on March 26th. I think if you bring it back to look at the court documents, it'll look really, really bad for the SEC. I really think the SEC wants to scare their companies into submission with this, so they're going for a super giant fine. If they end up settling for let's say 10, 20 million, it won't scare that many companies, but 1.95 billion would definitely scare a lot of companies. So we really don't want this in the crypto market because it sets a precedent. And also, the thing is, the SEC is looking at suing Ethereum right now. They actually haven't sued Ethereum right now. So even after this fine is settled, they can go back and appeal the part of the case that says XRP is not a security. But I think they want to sue Ethereum and win that first, if they can, which I don't think they can, before they appeal against Ripple, because they realize that if they don't make Ethereum a security, they're not really going to win against any of these other big cryptos. So essentially, the SEC's proposal asked the court to order Ripple Labs to pay $876 million in disgorgement, $198 million in prejudgment interest, and $876 million in civil penalty, amounting to a total of $1.95 billion. I think that is way, way too much. And I really think Gary Gensler is pushing his luck. Hopefully, the judge isn't completely anti-crypto, but as we've seen from many of these cases, most of these judges are not anti-crypto, and they rule against the SEC. So, the SEC asked the court to consider how easily actors, particularly in the crypto asset space, can today engage in the same sort of conduct Ripple's and send a strong message that such abuses will not be tolerated. But they haven't really, the only thing that's deemed a security is sales of XRP through to institutional customers. And selling to retail was not a violation of the law, so they are definitely asking for too much. And of course, the defendant's response will be filed on April 22nd, 2024, in about a month from now. So I hope this whittles down to a much, much smaller fee. And I do think the SEC is being too overarching, and they're going to get smacked down again by the courts, I believe. Otherwise, it would be really bad for the other crypto businesses as well. On top of that, even worse for the SEC, congressmen, specifically House GOP people, are asking about the relationship, and this has more to do with Ethereum, between Ethereum and the SEC, and they want them to explain how come Prometheum has the ability to actually handle Ethereum products if the SEC claims they're a security. Now, Prometheum is essentially the SEC's stooge company. They basically paid Prometheum, I think, and what the SEC did was like, hey, be on our side. And then they gave them like certain regulatory benefits, but now they're being questioned for that. So influential House Republicans are demanding answers from Gensler on how Ethereum could legally be treated as a security by Prometheum. A total of 48 members of Congress signed a letter to Gensler expressing concerns about how listing Ethereum as a security could threaten the crypto industry. So Prometheum is obviously on the SEC side because they're basically SEC's stooge company. And they're arguing this because it hasn't been declared a security yet. And I think the SEC wants to use Prometheum to bolster their case. But Congress is seriously looking at this. As Prometheum Incorporated nears an unprecedented moment in U.S. crypto history by beginning custody operation that intends to hold customers' Ethereum tokens, the industry's friends in Congress are demanding the SEC explain what it means to do, but this first special purpose broker-dealer for digital assets. And they're also asking how Prometheum got the permission and all the regulatory stuff clear, because I think this was complete and under-the-table deal by the SEC, and if it's found out it's that, then Gensler could be in a lot of trouble. We are faced with an alarming scenario in which the SPBD has announced that it intends to offer a custodial service for Ethereum under a regime that does not permit such an activity. The Republican chairman of the House Financial Services Committee wrote in a letter to SEC Chair Gary Gensler, also signed by 46 other members of Congress. So they have a significant amount of people in Congress. This action, if allowed to proceed, could have irreparable consequences for the digital asset markets. So there are a lot of pro-crypto people in Congress. Prometheum had announced a plan to begin custody of Ethereum as a customer asset. The initial plan was to start in the first quarter of this year, though the launch is now likely to happen in the next quarter. I think this is going to get dragged down because it's really going to bring out some of the insider stuff between Prometheum and Gensler, and hopefully it brings Gensler down as well. So basically it's by Patrick Mahenry and Rep. Glenn G.T. Thompson, the chairman of two committees, and other Republican lawmakers, most of whom have been staunch supporters of cryptocurrency, argued in Tuesday's letter that Ethereum is not a security, making the asset illegal to handle by securities firm like Prometheum. Also, like I said, there is a lot of questions about how Prometheum got through all the regulatory stuff so fast, but I do think there has been backhand deals. Of course, they also slam Gensler's unwillingness to directly say if Ether is a security. Gensler is trying to use all these sneaky methods to suggest that Ethereum is a security so that he might be able to call it a security later. But I think the senators are actually forcing it to the floor. Your unwillingness to clarify the treatment of Ethereum only exacerbates the confusion and uncertainty regarding Ethereum's classification as demonstrated by the Prometheum announcement. And an SEC spokesperson declined to comment, saying Gensler would respond to members of Congress directly. And the spokesman for Prometheum said company officials are still reviewing the letter. So obviously, Congress is definitely set against Gary Gensler at this point. So, like I said, I think Prometheum is basically a stooge company of the SEC. And the SEC is basically using Ethereum to try to corner crypto into a security status. But I don't think that's going to work. And I don't think they're going to win in Congress or the courts because realistically, it's not just Republicans. There are a decent amount of Democrats that are on crypto's side as well. And I don't think they're going to get an agreement on that. The other thing today is crypto game Munchables on Blast exploited for $63 million. A new NFT game built on Ethereum Layer 2 Blast has been exploited for nearly 17,500 Ethereum. A non-fungible token game called Munchables, built on Ethereum Layer 2 blockchain Blast, has suffered a $62 million exploit. Munchables announced it has been compromised in a March 26 X post at 9:33 p.m. UTC and said it was tracking the exploiters' movements and attempting to stop the transactions. So basically about, I would say, a couple of hours ago, they realized this and they're trying to stop the transactions, and they're probably locking it all down for this point. The wallet address of the exploiter shows that it interacted with Munchables protocol at 9:26 a.m. UTC, extracting a total of 17,413 Ether. That is a pretty huge amount, but it is basically like a $63 million case. This is another hack exploit. Could be an inside job. I'm not really sure. And some people are saying technically the Blast team could recover the $62 million lost in the Munchables exploit since they control the bridge contract that holds the bridge Ethereum STETH. It wouldn't set a good precedent for future exploits issues, but it is possible. And I think they will use this as a last resort. Meaning, I think this is meaning that like it's not truly decentralized, but when you're talking about $60-something million, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. An invalid state root would need to be forced by the Blast team, which would erase the hacked transaction. The chain might need to halt completely to do this. So there's a lot of big problems with this, but it's a lot of money, and they might have to do this later. While I'm strongly against this action on any other chain, I don't take Blast as a brand of serious decentralization chain, but instead as a place for games, experiments, degenerate, etc. So I think they're going to do this, but it did actually get exploited. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.